always be seen as man and wife, fulfilling.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for joining us again. Okay, the sister had a question up there.
From Islamic point of view, is it correct to marry a Muslim male gynecologist?
A Muslim male gynecologist. Is it okay for a sister to marry a Muslim male gynecologist? So, I think from what you're saying is that you're saying that it might be wrong because he's a gynecologist. And a gynecologist, being a woman's doctor, is always exposed to women, pregnancy or whatever it is. We would want our Muslim community to have enough female gynecologists so that we will not have to go through this. However, if a brother if that is his job, I don't see why not. You know, they have a saying, no woman wants to be married to a doctor who leaves home at 3 a.m., but every patient wants a doctor who is willing to leave home at 3 a.m. So, yes, a sister may marry a Muslim male gynecologist.
Considering a situation where a girl agrees to marry under no pressure, to a guy who has certain shortcomings, such as he may be a homosexual who is undergoing a treatment, or for that matter, a smoker, or a person who's knowing the condition that he may be a very short-tempered person, but in such scenario, but he belongs to a very good family, and he himself is a very good person, but in such conditions, like knowing the scenario, she marries the person, what should a female do? Like, should she go for such
Actually,
people?
we do have an entire topic. When we talk about marrying the wrong person, we do have an exact almost situation of what you have described. But let me tell you in general what happens. When we are pressured, we may compromise some of our preferences, but not our principles. Keep this in mind, people. You may end up compromising some of your preferences, but not your principles. Under no circumstance should you ever compromise your principles. Preferences, you know, I wanted somebody of a certain height, I wanted somebody of a certain weight, I wanted somebody of, you know, that you can play with, that you can compromise. But when it comes to principles, you should not be pressured in accepting this. As far as what you're talking about, we have a whole entire section on avoiding Mr. Wrong. Okay? Mr. Wrong may come from a good family, but he's still a Mr. Wrong. Mr. Wrong may have the greatest parents, but he or she is still a Mr. and a Miss Wrong. And we want to avoid Mr. Wrong. And sometimes Mr. Wrong or Miss Wrong may have all good qualities, but there is one thing about them. We want to see, is that one thing, is it a matter of preference or is it a matter of principle? If it's a matter of preference, that we can deal with. If it's a matter of principle, he may be from the right family, but he is still Mr. Wrong. But remind me when we come and discuss this issue.
What if someone has got married due to pressure for the wrong reasons with a Mr. Wrong and compromising on principles? What would you suggest?
See, what happens is sometimes you can almost predict what will happen. Here is a person that is getting married for the wrong reason, and they're getting married for the wrong reason with the wrong person. Can you really expect a happy marriage to come out of this? May Allah grant them a happy marriage. But at least on paper of what we know as people, as reasonable people, we say, you know what, this relationship is not going to last for very long. Remember the lady that I told you about? She is 26. That's the pressure right there. Came Mr. Wrong, a known womanizer, a known alcoholic, proposes. She accepts the proposal. And what happens? The marriage lasts for 2.5 months. That's all that happened.
If a decade has already passed and still the people are pressurizing, if one of the partner has realized the mistake and others are still pressurizing them to go on with this marriage, then what would you suggest?
Yeah, see, that is one thing here about this. People may suggest, but by the end of the day, we would hope that the choice is still ours. And that's one thing that we want to stress to our Muslim community. Marriage is not something that you push people into. You as a parent may feel that this is a great guy, or you as a parent may feel that this is a great girl. But unless that greatness is seen by your daughter or by your son, you should not push your children into it. And that is why in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, when that young woman, she came and she said, Prophet of Allah, look into my father and what he has done. He is trying to marry me to this guy لِيَرْفَعَ بِهِ خَسِيسَتَهُ. Because my father wants to elevate his status in the community. He wants me to marry this guy, even though this guy, I don't want to marry him. I do not want to marry this guy. So do not push people to marry people that they do not want to be married to. And I say this to all the Muslim community out there. Marriage is something that is beautiful. You want your daughter to be happy. You want your son to be happy. You cannot force something like this into them. Otherwise, this is a recipe for disaster. And instead of creating a happy marriage, you are almost determining a miserable life for your daughter and for your son. So do not. You can suggest, but the ultimate decision, the ultimate choice must be made by the person who is directly involved into this, the boy or the girl. Sister has a question.
You spoke of readiness for marriage, but most elders that we speak to, they tell us that you will never feel ready for marriage. So take the plunge and you'll learn to swim once you're in the water. What would you comment about that?
Yes, and again, remember, what is strange about this is that there is no formula that fits all. But there are two things, at least on paper, that we want to see. We want to see a person of reasonable age as well as a reasonable amount of maturity. Maturity is very important for the goodness of the marriage. And some maturity comes with age, some maturity comes with life experiences, but there is a minimum amount of maturity that is required to make a person ready for marriage. And that's why we say every woman can become what? Every woman can become a mother. Right? Every woman can become a mother. But it takes somebody very special to become a mom. Every man can become a father. But it takes somebody who is mature to become a dad. We just don't want fathers and mothers. We want dads and we want moms. So we're talking about there is a certain level of maturity that must be there to say that, you know what, such and such person is ready to get married. But we do have a section on this topic as well.
Well, how much say does the girl have with regard to refusal of proposal? Will it be disobedience to parents? And as often the example of Ibrahim alayhi salam is quoted of changing the doorsteps.
People remember this. Sometimes, and I think we spoke about this the other day, when people misuse and abuse religion, okay? Because Ibrahim alayhi salam came, the story that is cited, Ibrahim alayhi salam came and he visited his son Ismail. Ismail's wife came out of the door. He inquired about their situation. She said, we're doing terrible and things are not going very well. Ibrahim meets his son and tells his son to please go ahead and divorce your wife. If my father is Ibrahim alayhi salam and he tells me this, I will listen to him. But our parents are not Ibrahim alayhi salam. They really are not. They're not Ibrahim alayhi salam. So what happens is when people use and they cite these examples, fine, it's a good example. But that was Ibrahim alayhi salam. So you cannot tell me on the basis that Ismail listened to his father, now you have to listen to me. I say, that's a bit of a stretch out there. So how much say does she have in this? She has all the say. I mean, this is a lifetime commitment. Nobody should decide something like this on your behalf. They can suggest, they can recommend, they can really push it. But then by the end of the day, if you do not willingly say yes, why do we require witnesses in the nikah ceremony? Why are the witnesses there? And that's all the time that we have for this episode. And inshallah, we will meet with you again next time. And next time we are on, we're hoping that you will join us again. Until we meet, we say so long and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.